Hello everyone, welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 30th August 2024. Today again we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and The Indian Express newspapers which are very relevant for your exam. In our first topic we'll look into various aspects of gender budgeting in India. After that we'll look into status of grassroots democracy in India. Then we'll look into various pros and cons of nationwide caste census. After that, we'll look into some basic details about second nuclear submarine of India. Then we'll try to decipher some basic details about Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Then at the end, we will look into some prelims snippets which will help you in excelling your prelims exam. So stay tuned. Our first topic is analyzing gender budget 24-25. The context of this topic is that a write-up has appeared discussing various aspects of gender budgeting in recent budget. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 1 issues related to women and syllabus of your GS paper 3 government budgeting. Most of you who would have gone through Delhi Metro would have observed that there are some seats that are reserved in almost all the coaches for the women. Now, why it is done? So that women can avoid crowding and standing that can help them avoid discomfort and ease their journey. Also, to cater some of the specific needs of women like pregnancies and menstruation, etc. So this is an example that where this reservation of seats in the coaches by Delhi Metro, in this case, they are allocating the specific resources to benefit or address the gender specific needs or the special circumstances of the gender, that is women. In case of gender budgeting also, the same thing is happening. It is a process of incorporating a gender perspective at all stages of policy making, whether it is the legislation stage where a law or act is being made. Starting from the drafting stage itself, the gender perspective is incorporated, that how much it will help in addressing the specific needs of particular gender. Then with regard to policy formulation or planning stage, or with regard to a specific program or scheme formulation, or if we are allocating specific resources during the budget making process, then also this gender perspective is incorporated. With regard to the implementation stage also, this gender perspective is seen. And at the later stage, after the implementation of various policies, schemes, programs, etc., when the review is happening and also the impact assessment, that means the financial resources that were allocated, whether that has helped in improving the social sector outcomes. For example, if there is a scheme for health sector, particularly to address the issues of the women, does that scheme helped in improving some social sector outcomes like improving the maternal mortality rate, reducing the incidences of anemia in women? So that is the impact assessment. So here, if we are talking about gender budgeting, the impact of this gender budgeting is also seen while assessing the impact of that particular scheme or program. It mainly tries to determine the corrective actions that are required so that government policies, plans, schemes and budget meets the needs of women and girls as well as men and boys. Here you should also keep this in mind that gender budgets are not separate budget for women and women. Rather, it is incorporated in the normal budget itself. As per the recent data, the gender budgeting has reached to almost 1% of GDP estimates in 24-25 for the first time, and overall allocation currently stand at more than 3 lakh crore for pro-women programs. And if we look into the historical context, the first time this gender budgeting was introduced in year 2005 and 6. On an average, it was around 5% of the total budgetary expenditure. But this year, 6.8% of the total budgetary expenditure has been allocated for gender specific schemes. Now, what is the 5-step framework for gender budgeting? First is situational analysis of gender in a given sector, that what is the condition of that particular gender in that particular sector, whether it is the primary sector or agriculture sector, manufacturing sector or the services sector. What is the need in that particular sector that will help in determining the resources that will be allocated in that particular sector. Then assessment of gender-based policies and programs which were already in place, how well they have performed, what was their various issues that has been faced while implementing and enforcing that policies and programs. Then also the assessment of advocacy of budget allocation, that how much budget can be allocated, what is the demand, what is the specific need, looking into that. Then also monitoring whether the money was spent as per objective laid and the planned. This is that whether the outlays that were given that have actually materialized into outcomes or not. That has helped in improving the social sector outcomes, that has helped in improving the condition of that particular gender or not. Then at last, assessment of impact of policy, that overall impact, how much that policy have performed and how much that policy have helped in improving the status of gender or specifically the women. If we will look into the status of gender budgeting in India, it have categorized into 3 subheads. Earlier there were only 2 parts, that is part A and part B, whereas this year this part C was also added. Under part A, expenditures in schemes where 100% allocation is for women only. For example, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana. Or under the National Food Security Act, there is a ration card that is issued on the name of adult women in that particular family. Also, the National Food Security Act have categorized into the families into 2 subheads. One is Antodaya Anna Yojana, or the poorest of poor, and then there are priority households. And it covers almost 67% of the population of the India. Under the part B, the allocation for almost 30 to 99% is for women. Under the part C, 30% provisioning is for women. For example, schemes like PM Kisan, where almost 30% beneficiaries are women. The resources, 30% resources are allocated specifically for women. Recently, the increase that we have seen, especially in case of the increased gender budgeting, some experts believe that there are some instances like the PM Awas, which was changed from part B to part A. It is also one of the important reasons, because under the PM Awas Yojana, the majority of the beneficiaries are the women only. The houses are issued on the name of women. If you look into this allocation under part A and the share in the total budget, you can see that almost 40% of the resources are allocated under the part A, where 100% allocation is for women only. What is the significance of this gender budgeting? It helps in providing the gender equality. It promotes the equitable allocation of the resources. Whatever the financial resources are with the country, that can be provided equally to all the genders. It also ensures that there is a social justice, where it is addressing the gender-based disparities in access to services, whether it is the access of labor market or access of educational facilities or access of health facilities. Since women are already at a disadvantaged position, where that is because of gender stereotyping, patriarchy, etc. So they need special attention, and by giving that special attention, we can ensure this social justice. It can also help in economic growth, where it will help in enhancing women's participation in the workforce. It will also help in improving the health outcome, as it prioritizes women's health and well-being. The specific issues like lack of iron, anemia, then some of the poor hygiene conditions that they were following, especially in the cases of menstruation, etc. All those specific needs can be addressed. Then it will also help in empowerment. It will help in enhancing women's decision-making power. Why? Because they will be much more educationally empowered, they will much more health-wise empowered, and they will also financially empowered. That will improve their decision-making capabilities. And it will also help in overall sustainable development that contributes to inclusive as well as equitable development of all in the society. If we look into the issues, some of the issues that are given in the editorial itself, that is the issue of over-reporting and under-reporting. For example, under the PM Employment Generation Program, 920 crore allocation was there. However, it has been said by the expert who have written this particular piece of editorial that this 920 crore allocation couldn't be materialized into providing proper employment to women. Then Manrega, where women constituted almost 59.3% of all person days working, whereas it is calculated under the Part B with almost 28,888.67 crore, which is 33.6% of the all person days only. Here also you see there is mismatch between the data, that the woman is constituting a larger chunk in the Manrega, whereas the amount that is given is much less. So here also there is mismatch between the actual figures and the figures that has been reported. Also there is lack of comprehensive data, that how, and in this way this creates an issue that how much resource should be allocated. Then there are issues with regard to budgetary allocation. The government, the finances are already very constrained and they have multiple liabilities, multiple priorities. So it becomes very difficult for government to prioritize this gender budgeting and give a substantial chunk of budget for the gender budgeting. Then various implementation challenges. For example, it creates difficulties in mainstreaming a gender perspective in budgeting processes. That how we can implement this better. The enforcement is better. Here there are various issues. For example, lack of proper training of the manpower or the ground level bureaucracy, ground level workforce which has been given this task of implementation. Since they are not trained properly, this creates lot of implementation challenges also. Then lack of awareness among the policy makers, among the persons who are involved in the accounting processes, because this gender budgeting is somewhat a new phenomena in the world and there is less awareness about this. Then accountability issue, that there are very weak mechanism to track and monitor gender specific expenditure, whether those expenditures are actually materializing into improving outcomes or not. So when there is poor accountability mechanism, the expenditures are not properly used in a rational manner. The political will, insufficient political commitment to prioritize the gender equality in the budgeting, and this is because of overall issues that we have in the society, for example patriarchy, then social stereotyping, etc. And one more issue here is that the women's representation in the politics is already very less, so it becomes very difficult to prioritize gender budgeting. So what should be the way forward? First, we need to improve the data collection. This can help in channelizing our resource efficiently and effectively. Then there is need for performance-based budgeting. Whatever the scheme or department have done well, we can allocate some more resource according to the performance of that particular department or ministry, how well they are performing, how well they have been able to improve the social sector outcomes. Then also incorporating explanation for allocation in the gender based budgeting, that whatever the amount that is being allocated, we should also there should be a provision for inculcating proper explanation, that why a particular amount was being reported or why a particular amount was being allocated for that particular scheme or program. It will help in reducing misreporting and there will be more accounting accuracy. There will be less mismatch between the expenditure that was actually done, expenditure that is actually required, and what is being reported. There is also need for gender audits at a regular interval of time, and that will help in improving the gender outcomes, because this will help in actually knowing that whether all the outlays have actually materialized into outcomes or not. There is also need for well planning and designing of the scheme. Means here we need purposive planning. Means the planning with a proper purpose, with proper goal, with wider participation of women. At the drafting stage itself is more and more women is involved. It will help in addressing lot of issues and also tweaking the policy according to the specific needs of the women. There is also need for gender sensitization to address the broader issues like the patriarchy or glass ceiling in the workforce, etc. And there is also need for moving beyond women, especially in case of gender budgeting. For example, we also need to address the various issues that are faced by transgenders, etc. to make our society more broad-based and inclusive. Now, I want to check how attentive you people were. I have briefly talked about National Food Security Act, and the information that I have given you, you can solve this question very well. I hadn't talked about this third statement. Without even looking into this third statement, you can come to the answer of this question with only these two statements. Now please comment your answers in the comment box for this particular question. A mains practice question that you people can write from this particular topic: what do you understand by gender budgeting? Discuss its significance in addressing the broad-based issues faced by women. Our next topic is grassroots democracy in India. The context of this topic is that a write-up has appeared focusing on various issues faced by institutions of local self-governance. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 2, local self-governance. So what does grassroots democracy means? It means that tendency towards designing political processes that shift as much as decision-making authority as practical to the organization's lowest geographic or social level of organization. For example, giving as much as decision-making power to our lower level authorities like panchayats, etc., that they become capable to take the decisions for the people. And in India, this has been provided through 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act 1992, which came into force in the year 1993, which provided the panchayats as a constitutional status. Earlier, the panchayat was considered as state subjects. Now you people tell me, under which schedule of the constitution does three list has been provided, that is union list, state list and concurrent list. And this amendment also institutionalized three-tier system at village level, block level and district level or at Jilla level. The amendment also stipulated that all the panchayats member to be elected for 5-year terms in the elections, which will be supervised by the state election commissions. Then there has been also provisions for women, SC, STs reservation. And there are also compulsory elections that should be done every 5 years. They have been also given some powers to levy, collect and appropriate taxes, duties, tolls and fees. And there has been also provisions for preparation of plan for economic development and social justice. Now here, if you will see, under the Panchayati Raj system, there is a three-tier system, and at the local level there is Gram Sabha or the village assembly, which consists of all the people, adult population whose name appear in the electoral roll. Okay, and this village panchayats consist of elected members in that particular panchayat. So here in the municipalities, there is municipal corporation, municipal councils and nagar panchayats according to the population. Then there are also board meetings that are mainly done for the municipal areas. If you talk about the compulsory provision of the act, it says that Gram Sabha to be constituted in a village or a group of villages, means that this Gram Sabha will be the people who will be eligible, the adult population who will vote in that particular panchayati elections. Then there is establishment of panchayats at village, intermediate and district levels and direct elections for all these three levels. The chairpersons of the panchayats at intermediate and district level, that is block level and the Jilla level, to be elected by indirect elections. Minimum age for contesting elections in this is 21 years. The reservation of seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes in panchayats at all levels. 1/3 of the seats in women in panchayats to be reserved. They also fix the tenure of 5 years and holding elections within 6 months in any event of supersession of any panchayats. Then establishment of state election commission to look for overall conduct of that elections. And there is constitution of state finance commission after every 5 years to review the financial positions of the panchayats. Now you tell me who constitute a state finance commission in every state. If you talk about various voluntary provisions of the act, giving representation to member of the parliament and state legislature at various levels of the panchayats, providing reservation of seats for backward classes, devolution of powers and representation, that and especially with regard to granting financial powers to the panchayats, that on what are the subjects in which they can levy and collect the taxes. If we talk about the importance of local self-government, it can help in providing the foundation for the democratic structure. Actually, the people are participating here. So this is the true vision of the democratic spirit. This can also help in training the ground for the local leadership. People who are actually taking the leadership positions at the local level can tomorrow also lead at the national level. Local people know their problems well and can suggest better solutions, and this is the participatory governance or citizen-centric governance is all about, where the actual needs of the citizens are properly addressed. And in this way, this grassroots democracy or the local level governance can play a huge role in providing citizen-centric governance. Also, it can also help in encouraging self-help and voluntary services and save expenses. This can also help in rationalizing the financial resources properly. Government can reach to the ordinary people. The needs and the problems can be properly addressed of the ordinary people. It can also lessen the burden of state and central government. For example, during the COVID, the Manrega scheme has been very helpful. Now here, if there was no local government, the state machinery would have find it very difficult to properly implement this Manrega scheme. So that is where this local level governance come into play, that they provide proper solution. They can provide proper solutions to the needs of the local people. If we talk about major issues that are faced by the grassroots democracy, there are major three issues, and another issue was added: the fund, functions and functionaries, and at last the issue of functionality has also arisen. If we talk about the issue of fund, that is financial constraints that hampers the developmental projects as well as also to provide the basic services like the services of sanitation, water, etc. Because the resources, they have limited resources. The panchayats as well as municipalities have very limited resources on which they can levy the taxes. So their self-revenue generation sources are very less, and they are mainly dependent on the grants of state government as well as central government. Then there is the issue of lack of technical expertise, where this hampers the planning, implementation, and also it creates issue in managing the developmental projects. For example, there has been various reports that has came, especially with regard to the developments regarding the smart cities mission, that there was a lot of lack of technical expertise, and it doesn't help in providing the proper services and completing the projects in due time. Then there are also issues related to political inferences that undermines the autonomy of these institutions. There is also lack of public awareness which limits the participation of the people. Especially, let's take a very basic example of the meetings of the Gram Sabha or the ward committees. Very less amount of the people do participate in those meetings. Inefficient bureaucracy. Here, the bureaucratic apathy makes this process of providing grassroots democracy very cumbersome and time consuming, where the actual schemes which are given, the actual benefits which should be provided to the people, that takes lot of time. Then the corruptions that are involved, that divert the resources and hinder the delivery of the services also. Then there are social inequalities also that hinder the equitable distributions of resources and opportunities within the local communities. Mainly, there has been some allegations by some experts that most of the resources are cornered by some of the dominant people in those village and municipality areas. Then there are issues of the functionality also, and UPSC have also asked a mains question with regard to this. What is this issue is that even after providing proper resources, expertise, etc. to a certain level, these grassroots democratic institutions couldn't perform very well. Their performance is very poor, and these are some of the issues related to that. That is due to those issues, this issue of functionality is creating. Then the issue of irregular elections. The State Elections Commission has been provided under Article 243K and 243ZA, and this editorial is mainly highlighting those issues related to the elections itself, that these state election commissions are increasingly becoming disempowered. They have lot of litigation with the state government. For example, the Karnataka State Election Commission recently filed a contempt petition against the Karnataka government with regard to the non-following of the order related to the delimitation. Then Andhra Pradesh State Election Commission have also faced obstacles when an ordinance hindering the Panchayat Raj election was struck down by the Supreme Court in 2020. The CAG says that 70% of urban local government did not have an elected council at the time of the audit. This Janagra Annual Survey of India City System 2023 revealed that only 11 out of 34 states and union territories have empowered state election commissions to conduct ward limitation. And when this delimitation process is not being done properly, it is hampering the overall elections also. And this only 11 out of 34 states, it only constitute almost 35% of India's population as per 2011 census. Means only 35% of India's population is actually realizing the full potential of grassroots democracy properly. So various reforms that were suggested to strengthen the third tier of government in the editorial, that there is need for improving the transparency and independence of state election commissions. There can be a 3-member state election commission on the lines of the Election Commission of India that is provided under the Article 324. And these members, these election commissioners in the state, at the state level, can be appointed by a committee on the lines at the national level, in which there can be a chief minister and a minister nominated by the chief minister and also leader of opposition in the legislative assembly. This committee can recommend the name of the person who will be appointed the state election commissioners. There is also need for mandating fixed interval for the delimitation. This will prevent the arbitrary action by the state governments. According to their whims and fancies, there are various states which are doing the delimitation. But what we need, that there should be a fixed time period for going for the delimitation. For example, 10-year period. So there is need for mandating this time period to go for delimitation. Then there is also need for empowering state election commissions for delimitation and reservations, so that they are not completely dependent on the state government itself. Rather, they can go for the delimitation and the reservation on their own, so that the elections are not hampered. Then there is also need for addressing the malpractices, the corruptions that are involved in the election process, electoral process. For this, more oversight mechanism is needed, more technology integration is needed. For example, the elections of the mayor in the Chandigarh Municipal Corporation Council, which happened in 2024, and this case dragged till the Supreme Court of the India. That shows that how much corruption is involved, and that's why there is need for proper oversight mechanism as well as technological integration to address these malpractices. If we talk about the other reforms needed, there is need for financial autonomy. There can be more grants that can be provided by the Finance Commission itself. Also, there is need for more subjects on which these local level institutions can levy taxes, so that their self resources can be enhanced. There is also need for empowering them, that they become autonomous bodies and they can take their decisions on their own. There is also need for more accountability mechanism, and for this we need to strengthen the public oversight, that public is taking full participation and they are making the elected representatives accountable. There is also need for capacity building, and for this there is need for providing training and resources to the local officials, so that they can conduct the elections properly. They can also provide all the resources to these elected representatives, and also they can help in actually implementing, enforcing all the schemes and the benefits to the ultimate local population. There is also need for participation. Here we need to increase or encourage the public involvement, as well as also more collaboration is needed between the civil society organization, non-governmental organization, to properly realize the full vision of the grassroots democracy in India. There is also need for some institutional reform that can help in modernizing and streamlining local governance structures. If we look into one case study about Hivre village, which is located in Ahmednagar district, which turned itself into a prosperous village, and this is now known as Village of Millionaires. It has improved in its condition across the various social sector, like due to water availability by watershed development, cultivable land increased from 70 hectare in 1993 to 260 hectare in 2006. Then the income from agriculture alone have increased significantly. Due to high increase in fodder cultivation, milk production have increased significantly, and the number of families in the below poverty line have decreased significantly. And this Hivre village was awarded National Water Award by Government of India in 2007, and this village is continuing to inspire the other villages and the people. What they actually did, they used funds from the government schemes, and that has helped in regenerating natural forest, water and soil management, led by strong village body which is headed by Sarpanch, and name of Sarpanch was Popat Rao Pawarji. And he, by the help of proper leadership of the Sarpanch, this village which was earlier perishing in the poverty and the social exclusion, they have developed themselves to a prosperous village by properly using their funds and ultimately making them self-dependent rather than being dependent completely on to the other schemes of the government. Now, a prelims previous year question that was asked in 2016, consider the following statement: minimum age prescribed for any person to be member of panchayats is 25 years, and the panchayat reconstituted after premature dissolution continues only for the remainder period. Now, you people tell your answers in the comment box that what should be the correct answer for this particular question. You can see there are multiple mains previous year questions that were asked from this particular topic, and that shows that this topic, local self-governance, is one of the important topic for your exam. A mains practice question from this topic: discuss the challenges faced by the local governments in India and suggest effective solution to address these issues. Our next topic is a caste census needed in India? The context of this topic is that there is an ongoing debate to go for nationwide caste census, especially by the opposition parties. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 1, population and associated issues, syllabus of your GS paper 2, government policies and interventions. Now, caste is a social hierarchy or social class that is determined by the birth, and census is a systematic way of gathering information about the population. When we are talking about the caste census, it is mainly about the systematic way of gathering information about different caste in the India. Why these people are advocating for the caste census? Because it says that it will help in actually addressing the problems of different social groups better, and it is not only they will be better solved, before that they will be better identified also, and it can help in informed policy making also. Some of the advocates of the caste says that there are some population who need much more attention rather than other population. For example, the scheduled caste and the backward communities constitute a major chunk of the population of India. So they need much more attention and more resources should be diverted for their betterment. Okay. If we talk about Germany, where there is no race enumeration in the census itself, and due to this, some experts believe that there are discrimination against the black people. So this is why there is need for caste census, so that a proper identification of the problems can happen of the different caste groups, proper solutions can be provided, and proper policy making can be done. Why caste census is crucial? Some of the social imperatives, like still caste plays a very important role in the marriage, elections, and we also see the caste surnames in almost all the government documents, in the majority of the government documents. As per National Council for Applied Economic Research, only 5% of marriages happening in India are intercaste, and rest of the marriages are happening in the same caste. That shows that marriage is still an important phenomenon, and that is why we need to identify what are the different castes in India. Then some of the legal imperatives, that to provide the constitutional mandate of social justice. that constitution says to provide proper social justice to the backward class of the population. The constitution doesn't mention about the caste, but in different Supreme Court case laws, the Supreme Court says that caste can be a proper criteria, one of the proper criteria to properly give the benefit to the backward classes. Then also various administrative imperative to address the correct and the wrongful inclusion, because when we will have proper caste, it will help in actually address the inclusion and exclusion errors of different caste in getting the proper benefits of the schemes that are mainly launched or that are mainly for addressing the specific needs of those caste. For example, there might be some error that there is a caste that might be included in the scheduled caste which is very well, which do not need proper resources that are mandated for the scheduled caste. However, there might be some caste which needs to be included in the scheduled caste because of their poor social conditions, but they are not included. So if we will have proper caste census, experts believe that this administrative wrongdoings can be addressed. Then there are some moral imperatives also. What has happened that experts believe that whatever the benefits that were mandated, what were the benefits that were actually thought of, these benefits were actually cornered by some of the dominant class, elite class in the particular population itself, particular caste itself. So when we will have proper caste census, we can actually identify the real beneficiaries who needs proper attention, who needs proper support by the government. If we talk about brief timeline, 1881 and 1931 census enumerated all caste. Now you tell me in the comment box that who was the Viceroy of India when the first census of India, first official census of India was conducted. The first census conducted after the independence in 1951, no caste enumeration has happened. An exception was given for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. In 1961, Government of India advised state to conduct their own surveys and draw the state specific other backward classes list. If we talk about the arguments against the caste census, that it again reinforces the caste system, that caste is already very discriminatory. If we are going for the caste census, experts believe that it actually reinforcing the caste system. It is actually realizing the importance of caste, and caste based discrimination can further increase in the societies. Then it is very difficult to define caste because of the different surnames that people have, and this is one of the issue that was faced in the socio-economic caste census, that it have came to conclusion that by this socio-economic caste census we came to a conclusion that there are different lot of caste in India, and it is very difficult to objectively gather data related to those caste. Then it may further lead to social division in the society. The social integration can be further hampered, social cohesion can be further decreased in the society. It can also fuel caste based reservation demands. Because of the caste based reservation that has been given to few castes, there are multiple castes like Gujars, Jats, Patidars, Marathas communities which are already demanding the reservation. And if there will be a caste census and these communities will know about the population they have, that might fuel the further demand for the caste based reservation as believed by some experts. And in this regard only, we can see the failure of socio-economic caste census 2011, which says that in 1931 census, there was only 4,147 caste in India, apart from the depressed classes. Whereas this census says that there are more than 46 lakh caste. Okay, they have confused the surname with the caste. Why this particular issue was faced? Because this was not conducted under the Census Act 1948. The Ministry of Rural Development and Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry have gone for this socio-economic caste census, and they do not have prior experience of conducting sociological or anthropological surveys. The questionnaire that was made, that were very poorly designed, open-ended questions were asked, and caste enumerators could not distinguish between different caste and the surnames. The Bihar survey that was recently done, they have better designed, the questionnaires that were designed was better as compared to socio-economic caste census. caste census. So what is the way forward? First, there is need for clear objective and guidelines that the data that will be coming from the caste census, for what purpose they will be used. Okay, so we need to clearly have proper objectives and guidelines. We can also amend the Census Act 1948. With this, there can be enumeration of the caste mandatory by the census itself. And we should consider this, that the data that will be coming in the society, that should not deepen the fault line in the society. The social cohesion should not be getting affected. Then there is also need for periodic reviews of this caste census data that will come in the public domain. The enumeration by the census commissioners should be only done because they are well equipped to conduct the census properly, and that can happen as a part of regular census only. There is also need to enlist sociological, anthropological experts. They can create a draft list of caste specific to each state, and after creating this draft list, they can publish the draft list online, and then that can be changed according to the needs. There is also need for subcategorization of caste so that the people who couldn't get the proper benefits, their needs can be addressed properly. There is also need for use of technology. Here, there can be a preloaded information, preloaded questionnaires only that would be asked with the people, and this will lead to less interference by the enumerators, and there will be less subjective data that will be coming in the public domain. Now, a mains practice question from this topic: evaluate the potential benefits and drawbacks of conducting a caste census in India. Our next topic is second nuclear submarine of India. The context of this topic is that India Thursday got its second nuclear submarine with the commissioning of INS Arighat into the Navy. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your UPSC Prelims current events of national and international importance. This INS Arighat will join the INS Arihant, and this will help in strengthening the country's nuclear triad. This INS Arihant is the first nuclear submarine of India. This will help in improving our ability to fire nuclear missiles from platforms like air, land and sea. The 6,000-ton nuclear-propelled submarine will be armed with indigenously made K-15 missiles, which have range of over 700 km. Like INS Arihant, it is powered by 83 megawatt pressurized light water reactor, which allows it to remain submerged for longer periods when compared to conventional submarines. The conventional submarines, which mainly are diesel fueled, they have to come to the surface periodically to get oxygen to properly go for the combustion. Now, if you talk about the pressurized light water reactor, they generally use U-235 as the fuel, and with the help of this U-235 they undergoes the nuclear fission, and that helps in releasing the heat energy. The light water act as a coolant as well as the moderator. This INS Arighat is difficult to detect. The nuclear submarine will strengthen the India's ability to carry out retaliatory strikes when necessary. If we talk about Indian nuclear powered ballistic submarines are named the Arihant class, a Sanskrit term which means the destroyer of the enemy, and name was chosen for subtlety and appropriateness of this submarines. Indian government plans to build both nuclear and conventional submarines as part of its long-term acquisition and capability development strategy. With India's no first use nuclear policy, the submarine launched ballistic nuclear submarines play a key role in deterrence due to their difficulty in detection and their ability to survive a surprise attack and execute retaliatory strikes. Countries like US, Russia, China have larger SSBNs with long-range missiles. For example, China have 6 SSBN class with JL-3 missiles, whereas US operates almost 14th OU class SSBNs. Now a question that I want to ask you people, that this project 75, what is the aim of this project 75? Please comment your answers. Next question is Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Context of this topic is that Pakistan invites Prime Minister Modi to SCO summit in Islamabad, which is going to happen in the month of October. This particular topic pertains to syllabus of your UPSC prelims, current events of national and international importance, and syllabus of your GS paper 2, bilateral, regional and global groupings, agreements involving India and or affecting India's interest. So basically, this SCO is an intergovernmental political, economic and security alliance which was founded in year 2001 by Kazakhstan, China, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. Now here you have to focus that India is not the founding member. The first summit was held in Shanghai, China in the year 2001, and it mainly aims to promote cooperation and mutual support in areas such as trade, investment, energy, transportation and security. The Shanghai spirit is the core value of the SCO. And what does this spirit says? It says about the mutual trust, mutual benefit, equality, consultation, respect for cultural diversity and pursuit for common development among the SCO member states. The official working language of the SCO Secretariat is Russian and the Chinese. If we talk about the objectives, the main objective is to strengthen relation among the member state, promote cooperation in the political affairs, economics and trade, scientific, technical, cultural and educational spheres, as well as energy, transportation, tourism and environmental protection. It also aims to safeguard regional peace, security and stability, create a democratic, equitable international political and economic order for the benefit of all. At present, if you talk about the members, China, India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Iran and Uzbekistan are the current member, and Afghanistan, Belarus and Mongolia have the observer status. And if you talk about the dialogue partners, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Turkey, Egypt, Nepal, Qatar and Saudi Arabia are the dialogue partner. Now in past 1 year, UPSC have asked one question regarding members of the G20. So this member state can be helpful in solving some of the questions that might appear in your prelims exam. Now let's talk about prelim snippets. In this, our first topic is artificial rain, which is a process to augment rainfall by spreading either dry ice or more commonly silver iodide aerosols into the upper part of clouds to try and stimulate precipitation process for the rain. So this silver iodide provides that nuclei that can help in improving the condensation. If we talk about various chemicals used like potassium iodide, silver iodide, dry ice, liquid propane, which expands into a gas and has also been used. Use of table salt, that is NaCl, is becoming also popular. Method involves that cloud seeding chemicals may be dispersed by aircraft using dispersant devices on the ground, generators or canisters fired from anti-aircraft guns or the rockets. For release by the aircraft, silver iodide flares are ignited and dispersed as an aircraft flies through the clouds. In India, first cloud seeding operations were conducted in 1983 by Tamil Nadu government. If we talk about effect on government, the impact of cloud seeding on the environment has been proved to be very minimal. There has been various experiments that has been conducted by China, etc. Now Delhi government is thinking to go for the artificial rain to address the issues of the pollution in the capital. Next, our topic is Food Corporation of India. The context of this is that the ethanol distilleries can buy 23 lakh billion ton rice from the Food Corporation of India for ethanol production. Now you tell me that how many categories of the biofuels has been given by the National Biofuel Policy. If we talk about the Food Corporation of India, it is a statutory body which has been established by Food Corporation Act 1964. The objectives of the Food Corporation of India is to ensure effective price support, operations for safeguarding the interest of the farmers, distributions of food grains throughout the country for public distribution system, or also to enforce the National Food Security Act 2013, also to maintain satisfactory level of operational and buffer stock of food grains to ensure the national food security. The nodal ministry of Food Corporation of India is Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Next is Bonda tribe. One of the 13 particularly vulnerable tribal group is Bonda tribe, which is found in Odisha. Now you people tell me, as of now, how many PVTGs are there in India? And this has been also asked in one of the UPSC prelims question. This Bonda tribe are the members of a group of Austroasiatic tribes. They are believed to be part of first wave of migration out of Africa about 60,000 years ago. They are the first forest settlers in India, and they have retained their identity and culture despite external interventions over the years, and they are primarily the forest dwellers. They perform hunting and foraging for food in the wild. They continue to speak their language, that is Remo, and this language comes under the Austroasiatic language belonging to Mundari group. Now the news was that the Bonda tribe student set to pursue MBBS program in Odisha. This you can use as an example in your essay, that how despite the social exclusion or despite the poverty, that cannot prevent a person in achieving the height in securing the success. Our next topic is DGCA, which is a regulatory body in the field of civil aviation, primarily dealing with the safety issues, and it is an attached office under the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and it is responsible for regulation of air transport service to from within India and for enforcement of civil air regulation, air safety and airworthiness standards. It also coordinates all regulatory functions with the International Civil Aviation Organization. Headquarters of DGCA is located in New Delhi. It plays a crucial role in developing new airports and modernizing existing facilities to ensure that they can meet the growing demands of aviation industry. It is also responsible for issuing licenses and certificates to the pilots, and also aircraft maintenance engineers and other aviation personnel certificates are also given by the DGCA. That was all from today's Analyst. I hope you liked the session. All the very best. Keep studying. Thank you.